What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. We absolutely have to, per our agreement as NBA media members, discuss Bronny James.
Yeah.
And I obviously have not watched him nearly as closely as you have. So why don't you just give us just your pure, unadulterated, unbiased perspective on what Bronny James looks, because important little disclaimer here. Like, I don't give a shit about the nepotism angle. Like, he's going to get his opportunity. He's going to get several years to figure out whether or not he's an NBA player. So like, everyone just needs to accept that. That's the reality. He's going to get his shot. Yeah. The question is, if he gets 2-3 years in an NBA organization to try to figure this out, what NBA level tools does he have? And is there a realistic shot for him to round out into an NBA player eventually?
So the idea behind Bronny James is like a 3-and-D guard, not like a 3-and-D wing. He's like 6'1.5", right? So he is a guard. The names that will come up are Gary Harris and Avery Bradley. Like, those are the two most popular names I've heard from teams, and if they like him, or like anybody that's like trying to figure out a point of comparison. I don't think people quite understand how good those guys were in high school and college. Both of those guys were 5-star recruits coming out of high school. Avery Bradley, a top 5 kid in his class. Gary Harris was like, a top 20 kid in his class. Gary Harris eventually went on. I think he won Big Ten Player of the Year. If he didn't win Big Ten Player of the Year, he was first team all Big Ten. Was like an outstanding player over multiple years at Michigan State. Top 20 pick, was fantastic. Became this awesome 3-and-D guard, like, who could guard even up to the 3 eventually. Avery Bradley was a guy that averaged like 11, 3, and 3 in his freshman year at Texas, or maybe like 11, 5, and 3. And was, by the end of his year at Texas, one of like the great perimeter defenders in college basketball. Like, he was a monster at the point of attack, which is why he ended up going in the top 20. Bronny was I thought, a good defender this year for a freshman. I didn't feel like he was particularly crazily disruptive anywhere. I would say defense was his best attribute this season as a basketball player. And we really wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for LeBron being involved. I kind of have gone back in terms of the production.
I'm gonna cut you off really quickly here. Yeah. Just how much do you think? Let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Kid had heart surgery before the season.
Totally.
Doesn't that have a substantial impact on what his USC film / statistical production would have looked like?
I think it has an impact for sure. My issue with Bronny has kind of always been, though, that I've never seen him as like a half-court shot creator at all. I've always seen him. He's pretty good in transition. I think he makes like pretty solid passing reads. I think he's smart and like understands the game at an intuitive level in a way you would expect from LeBron's child, right? Just the genetics that kind of filter down, whatever it is. Like, I think he sees the game in the open court in a really positive way. It's just really hard for me to envision a player that averaged, under 5 points per game as a freshman at 6'1", being a draft prospect. Like, I've kind of gone back through, but like back to like 2007, 2008, like something like that. I believe Bronny James will be the first player drafted that is like under 6'2" and averaged under 5 points per game as a one and done player. It's just an extremely uncommon degree of production and size to be entering the NBA draft. Now, you and I just talked about how much we love Devin Carter, and like, we truly like adore that guy's game. I think that there are outcomes where if Bronny had stayed in college for a couple of years, we could have been looking at Bronny as a similar player to Devin Carter, because Devin Carter started at South Carolina, averaged like 7 points per game, 8 points per game, whatever, first year. Moved up to Providence, averaged 14 points a game, and 6 rebounds or so. And then this year was, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, like was one of the best players in the country. You could have convinced me of that pathway, but where I'm worried now about Bronny is I don't think he can play point guard in the G League unless they force it. Like if they might force the issue, like let's just
Mhm.
be honest about it. So I'm worried about him getting reps, being able to develop his ball handling and develop his half court feel as a playmaker in the way that would allow him to get the most out of his game long term. Uh, Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I wish the best for the kid, obviously. Like the kid has gone through
Mhm.
a crazy number of difficult situations between the heart condition, the pressure that's on him as LeBron James's kid, the fact that he seemingly is as well adjusted as he is, and like everybody will kind of tell you he is quite well adjusted. And I've been in like media scrums with him before. He seems like a really really nice dude, and like a again like a mature beyond his years in some way, like teenager. But like at some level, like the game is the game, right? And you got to be able to prove
Mhm.
it. Like everyone talks about like Tony Allen, right? Tony Allen's, more our age ish, right? Do you remember how good Tony Allen was at Oklahoma State, Jason? Tony
Oh my God.
Tony Allen won the Big 12 Player of the Year. He won the Big 12 Tournament MVP. He led Oklahoma State to a 31-4 record and led them to the Final Four. And that guy, like Boston, like tried to make him point guard for a minute or whatever, but he eventually settled in as like one of the great defensive players in the league. And that's the vision that people have for Bronny. And there's just like no, to me, like I just don't know what the backing for that is based on what we've seen so far, is maybe the fairest way to put it.
Well,
But maybe he can get there.
do you think quickly, do you think this was a strategic move on the family and Clutch Sports part to capitalize on more of the intrigue around him, knowing because like here's the thing, I would imagine he'd actually make more money going back to USC in NIL deals. So, or at least close. So, like, do you think they're actually trying to avoid him putting more college tape out there that kind of dampens or kind of like minimizes some of the intrigue surrounding his potential?
I think that everything about this has been strategic from Clutch. Like Rich, I've never heard an agent be more public about the way he's handling a prospect than Rich Paul has been with Bronny James at this point.
Yeah.
And to me, all of that is very strategic. Like coming out and saying that he won't take a two-way is trying to drive him down the board at the end of the day. Because if you're
Hmm.
trying to stop other teams from taking him, um, coming out and saying that he'll only work out certain places, that's trying to drive him to a specific situation. So I think the whole thing has been trying to control the process, drive him to specific situations. Let's be honest, like it seems like the Lakers. I'm not going to sit here and say like for sure it's the Lakers, but the way Rich Paul is handling this process is exactly the way you would handle it if your goal was to get him to a specific destination, without
Yeah.
saying that that is 100% the goal and that I know that's 100% the goal. Everything he has done has been acting like that is the goal, at least, let's say.
Hmm.
So, like, and I respect it. Like, I understand the goal. I understand everything about it. In terms of like making more NIL, less on NIL, if he just stayed in school. Um, my the most popular college that I got for Bronny, because he did enter the transfer portal, so colleges, kind of had a sense of what was going on. The most popular name, I'm not saying he would have gone there. I'm just saying the most popular idea I got for Bronny James was for him to go to Duquesne, which is where Drew Joyce just got the head coaching job. Drew Joyce played high school basketball with LeBron at St. Vincent St. Mary's. His dad, I believe Drew Joyce senior or the second. I can't remember if Drew coaching Duquesne now is the third or not. Um, was a coach at St. Vincent St. Mary's, for LeBron, and then Drew Joyce, who just took the Duquesne job, was the head coach or was an assistant coach under Keith Dambrot, who was LeBron's head coach also at St. Vincent St. Mary's early in his career. So there were a lot of familial connections where if you're going to send Bronny somewhere, it would be very comfortable, right? That's a place where you know that Bronny will be treated well, where you know that he'll get every opportunity to succeed. And honestly, like in the A10 level, I think that'd be great for Bronny to get a chance to like thrive and get a chance to play on the ball and showcase what he's capable of. But ultimately they decided to go a different way, and I respect it. I just have concerns as to whether or not it was what was best for his development, because the G
Mm-hmm.
League is a higher level of basketball at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be very sink or swim for
Yeah.
him, for sure. And again, my last take on it again is like I hate when people complain about the nepotism, because guess what? Nepotism has existed in every single field for as long as I can possibly remember. It's not even the first time it's happened in the NBA. Like, big who cares? He's going to benefit from it. He's going to get a lot of opportunity as a result of it. But guess what? No good coach is going to put him on an NBA floor in a meaningful basketball game if he doesn't earn his opportunity to be there. So like it at a certain point, like we opened the show with it. Like this is the nature of the ruthlessness of professional sports. He might have his opportunity to grow and to learn on the fringes of the NBA, but like no one's gonna just hand him a starting role on a legitimate NBA team. He's going to have to earn it. He's just going to get an opportunity by virtue of this.